All right, so first things first, to get started with this lesson, we need to have a couple of things. You need a microphone, and under the current conditions that we're working in, not everybody has access to a microphone. So if you have a laptop and your laptop has an onboard mic, that's what I'm going to show you today for this very first lesson. I do have a interface and microphone and all that stuff at home, so our next lessons will certainly be using that kind of stuff. But just to get us going, I'm going to go with like the most basic guerrilla style of editing that we could possibly work with. Okay, so once we open Adobe Audition, this is what we are looking at. We're looking at this page, and now we will go on from here. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is to create a multi-track. And how do we do that? We're going to come up here. Well, there are many ways to do it. You can come up to File, you can go up to New, Multi-track, but I normally just click on this. Quick click there, and it'll bring up this dialog box that is going to prompt us for some information. And you might think, okay, I'm just going to name this and then move on really quickly and life goes on. But that's actually not the case. It is, let's say we're going to do this week's assignment of station ID. Okay, and then I'm going to say station ID version 1 because there will be more than one version of this, I'm sure. Folder location. Now, folks, when we're working it in the RTV classroom, it is really important because our classroom and labs are set up with a student server. And that student server has different naming conventions where if you've already been an RTV student, you're familiar with this. And we always tell you how critically important that is because it's important to know where you're working so that you'll be able to go back and find your files, because if you're not working in your folder, this is going to be a big mess for you later. But in this case, you are probably going to be working on your own computer or the computer of someone. A few other people have access to it. In other words, it's not a public computer. So here, this is my personal computer. I know where it is, that's fine. Template, you want that to be none. Sample rate, 44/100 is standard for audio. This is CD standard. 48 is what we would look at if we were looking to incorporate video, but 44/1 is great right now. Bit depth at 32 is just fine, and your master should always be set to stereo. Now we're going to hit OK. All right, now what this is doing is showing us a multi-track setup for us. So in Adobe Audition, we have two options. The waveform is for a single track, and multi-track editor is for multiple tracks. Track 1, track 2, track 3, track 4, and so on. All right, so this track, we are going to use this for our dialogue. And you see this little guy up here, right here, that's dialogue. Track 1, if I hit my space bar or click into that rather, I can change this. So I'm going to say this is going to be my dialogue. Just name that for organization. And then first thing that I'll show you is this little button here. This is our inputs and outputs. And this is really important when we're talking about what we do in creating analog into digital, which is exactly what we're doing here. We're talking about analog, which is my voice sound waves, and we are going to try to turn that into digital files so that we can then manipulate them digitally. And that's what we're going to do as we engage our recording device here and work on manipulating the sound and editing that here. Okay, so in order to do that, we have to work here on our inputs and outputs. And let me see, this first one, input, default stereo input is fine because I told you I would just be working with my laptop and I don't have anything plugged in. If I did have something plugged in, however, it would be well, we'll go ahead and go built-in microphone. Okay, I will do that, so it's not the other default. But if I had a different microphone, an XLR microphone plugged in, this is where we would choose that. And then master is just fine. Okay, now this is chosen, but now we are not done. We have to go ahead and go to, this is mute, this is solo, and R is where we're going to arm for record. And this, if we do this, you are going to see something change here as well as here. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right. Oh, it's not down there because I'm not playing it back. All right, that's right. So here is my level, and my level is looking just fine for our purposes. We're just going to do a quick station ID, and this is where you are going to record yourself doing a station ID, as we are talking about this week. What is a station ID? By now, if you have read our station ID handout, then you understand that it is the call letters followed by the city of license. And in our case, that would be KWDC Stockton. And that's it. All right, so this is a very simple lesson, but one that allows us to work as best as we can under our current conditions. Okay, this is indicating that it's reading my level here, and so now I just have to come over to this record button, hit this here, and I'm going to do a couple takes. All right. KWDC Stockton. Okay, we talk a lot about multiple takes and reading and breathing and all this. Okay, so let me try another one. I know that first one that I had some lip smack, so let me work it on not doing that. And a couple of tricks to help you not do that is to, number one, be aware of that, right? So awareness really matters. And also giving yourself time in your delivery to be kind in your edit. So if that doesn't make sense right now, it would be like just now, you see that where I did that little, yeah, there we go, or right, your lips will pop or your tongue clicks or something like that. As you go on getting familiar with this, you're going to be able to really see that in your track. But when you are working and just reading, you can be really slow with your delivery or really careful with your delivery so that you have control of that read. Let's try another one. Here we go. KWDC Stockton. See that? It's a really different if I go KWDC Stockton. KWDC Stockton. Okay, see, I still give myself a little pause there. KWDC Stockton. Some of you will do things so fast that you kind of are stepping on your own toes, if you will, where you're not giving yourself breathing room or editing room. And I would urge you to try multiple times so that you can give yourself different takes. Let's do one more. I'm going to do a friendly take. KWDC Stockton. Okay, friends, so now I'm meeting you and you say, wait a minute, how is she moving along and we've skipped so many steps? So my apologies. I was working and didn't realize that my recorder had expired. So here we go. Let me get you caught up with where we were. All right, so let me. Okay, so what we were looking at over here, let me fix my workspace. I now have brought in into my timeline a number of things that weren't there before. And how did they get here? So I have a sound effects file and I have a little music file. And I brought them in. I imported them and I brought them in because they were already in a folder using this import file. Although it doesn't have to be a folder, you can do one at a time if you want. And then they live here in this spot. And then from here, we can drag them into our timeline or drag them from here into there, actually. Lots of ways to do one thing in this software. Okay, now the next thing that I did that you didn't get to see is, well, I was showing you a couple of things. Number one, that this allows me to zoom out or zoom into my timeline, and I recommend certainly that you zoom in for detailed editing. And you can move these around as much as you need to see what's going on there. which I definitely recommend. And especially when you want to do things such as, like, for example, here I want to maybe lower this audio. Lots of ways to do this too. I'll explain all of that in a different lesson, not today. Today we're going to be very basic. We did trim, cut, volume, fade in, fade out. Okay, that's what I want to show you. So let's go over here. Okay, this, when we go to the beginning of a clip or the end of a clip, and here I'm in my sound effects file, I can see that there is a little box here that if I hover over it, it says fade in. Very, very cool. So this box will allow me to fade in and go ahead and give you linear values. So you've got options right away. You can fade in this way, you can fade in here, and all of that it's telling you right here. So very, very cool to go ahead and use this little tool. I really like this, and that is fade in, fade out is just on the other end. That's where you're going to do fade out. So let's try this. I know that what I'm going for here is going to be, this sound effect is the sound of a tuning radio, so a little staticky. Got that from Sound Bible. That was a free sound that I got. And then over here I've got kind of old style music. And so let's see what we're building out.
KWDC, Stockton.
Oh, I kind of like it. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to cut. So remember the shortcut was R to bring up my razor tool, and we will, it's a very short clip, but you never want to just, that would be way too short because I want to give it some time to die out, but I also kind of want to look at this and see if I can go add a downbeat. Let's see there. And that's probably going to be too long because I want to try to keep it at 5, which would be there. Maybe. Okay. Well, we'll see. All right, so let me do my move tool, which is V, and then I can grab that. And if I just highlight this and I hit the delete button, that can go away. And then I think that's actually, I want to use my trim tool to bring this back, and then let's fade out and let's see what that sounds like. All right.
KWDC, Stockton.
Okay, so you will notice that I've got some effects going on here that I did not explain to you. So these effects that I have here are part of, if I come over here, these are KWDC signal processing effects. And if I switch my screen over here, this is all, you can find this on page 40 of the KWDC operating manual. This is, I have to tell you that I hesitated for a long time with giving students kind of a recipe or starting point until I realized that audio production is new for so many people that it's better to give you a starting point and tell you that there really isn't a standard one-size-fits-all when it comes to audio production. However, in our world of broadcasting, it's really important that you have uniform sound. And so I want you to start here, go to page 40 to find these values. And you'll also find, more importantly than the values, an explanation to help you understand that. And this will not be the first time that, or this is the first time, but not the last time that I am talking to you about this. All right, so let's go back over to the software, and you can see that this has been applied. But if we go over to our levels, we want to look down here, and I want you to see that it says in the handbook that we should get up to -3 dB for KWDC standard. So let's play this back, and then we want to see if we are landing here, or here, or here, or where are we landing. Let's go ahead and play that.
KWDC, Stockton.
All right, so some of that is going way too far. So that's telling me that we need to add to our master track. This is the master track. It's different from this, where you see a sound wave. This is our master track. At our master track, we need to go ahead and add We are going to add a, you are going to add a, I am very tired. I need to put a hard limiter on this. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay, and my hard limiter is found under amplitude and compression. My hard limiter is here. Pull this up, and then I want it to stop at -3 dB, so I can limit to -3 dB there. All of that is fine to stay as is. That closes out, and then now if I come back in and I play this, let's see what we get. Oh, just kidding, I don't want all that. I want to come up, 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 up. Okay.
KWDC, Stockton.
I don't know that I like that ending. I felt like that was too abrupt.
KWDC, Stockton.
I don't know. I think I would play with this ending a little bit more. Okay, okay, so let's just, let me try this now that I've made it longer.
KWDC, Stockton.
Okay, I think that's fine, just for the purposes of showing you this, because now this was supposed to be a 15-minute or less video, and it's now significantly longer. So let's go ahead and go to the very last learning objective of today, and that is to export your file. Okay, so to export this file, I now have various elements here that I am excited that we got to work with. So we got to work with number one, understanding the Adobe Audition session, the different parameters and features that are in the session. We just did a very basic one. We're going to go through various other aspects of this software as the semester continues. And we went through the multi-track. We added elements by importing those elements, and again, multiple ways to do that. We went to this feature here, import file, and then we went through the KWDC signal processing. And now that we are happy with our file, not really, but I'm doing this really quickly for you, we are going to go up to File, and we are going to select Export. From Export, Multi-Track Mixdown, Entire Session, because we want all the clips. And we are going to say Station ID version 1. Mixdown, you don't have to have Mixdown in there. I always kind of think it takes up a lot of space, but I do want your name in there somewhere. So I will say Broger Station ID. Version 1 is fine. Desktop MP3. That's what I want you to export things to for this class, an MP3 and not a WAV. So keep that in mind. And I know I'll talk about waves. I know it's higher quality, but for the sake of not taking up too much space, we're going to want MP3s. And let's go ahead and hit OK. And there we go. It will then have placed at our desktop our Broger Station ID.
KWDC, Stockton.
There we go. There is our station ID. And you would take that station ID and upload it to Canvas. And that is all for now.